What is going on, guys? Finally, it is time for us to do the review of the Spark exhaust. And before we actually go, I wanted to do a cold start for you guys and let you hear what it sounds like, just like we did with the other exhausts. Here we go. So, this time, I think I did it right. I put the baffle on the bike, and judging by how loud the SE Project exhaust was, I just didn't want to repeat that process and go through the same thing again. And it's got the right amount of tone and bassiness, just the way I like it. More on the road. Let's get going. Looks like we're low on fuel again. Every time I get on the bike and I want to ride, low on fuel. 14-mile range. Alright, fueled up and ready to go. So by now I'm assuming you've already watched the Leo Vence review as well as the SE Project. Now it's time for the Spark exhaust. The last one that I have to review for you guys. And at this point, I gotta make up my mind which exhaust I want to keep. And this is gonna be a very hard decision. And we'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of this video, so make sure you stick around. Now, if it's your first time tuning into the channel, give this video a like and also subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to me. I would appreciate it. Let's get going. Oh man! Does an exhaust make a difference on a bike? Oh, yes, indeedy it does. So just like in my last video, we're going to be riding for a bit and talking about what this exhaust is like. And then afterwards, we're going to do a flyby and then a pure sound. So it's going to be separated into 3 different segments. You can skip wherever you want, but I highly suggest that you watch the whole thing. But I leave that choice up to you, and you're free to do whatever you like. The Leo Vence exhaust was the first one that I installed, and immediately I loved how loud the exhaust was, and it was a very bassy tone, and it had the right amount of raspiness, and I had no baffles on that exhaust, and I think it was a perfect combination. And then I installed the SE Project exhaust, and I had no baffles on that, but it made my ears bleed. And I think it's because that exhaust is kind of like a straight pipe type of exhaust. It basically resembles a straight pipe, and I think that's why it was so damn loud. It almost wanted to bust my eardrums open. And I nipped that in the bud real quick by putting on the baffle. And then after the baffle, it was quite tolerable actually. Up until I hit about, I would say anywhere between 8, 9, 10,000 RPM and above. And then I became unbearable again. So it's just too loud for me, I think. Not really sure what to think of it, to be honest with you. And so now, the third one, the Spark exhaust. How does it compare? Well, I don't know what it's like without the baffle, and I didn't want to try it because I knew I wasn't going to like it. I typically don't wear earplugs or anything like that because in my videos it might seem like I'm going balls to the walls crazy every single time. I typically don't ride like that. If I do, it's in short spurts. And then, you know, like I'm riding right now, 5th gear, 6th gear, 40, 50 miles an hour, regular B-road speeds. This is what I typically do all the time. I don't like to wear earplugs, and it's just one extra step for me, and it just bogs me down, and I don't like anything stuffed inside my ears. That sounds funny, but yeah, it is what it is. I don't want to have to wear earplugs because of an exhaust. If I do, it takes the fun away from everything. Now granted, if I'm traveling, let's just say a long distance from here to, let's just say LA, and it's a 2.5 hour ride, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to wear earplugs. That's for sure. But through my day-to-day riding, I don't ride for hours and hours, and so therefore it's not necessary. But if I have an exhaust that's very loud, I'm gonna have to wear it even if it's for a 30-minute ride, because at that point it just becomes unbearable. But the good thing about the Spark exhaust is that it is in between the SC Project and the Leo Vence exhaust. The Leo Vence exhaust, in my opinion, is probably the quietest of all three of them, and it's quietest of all three of them without the baffle, with the SC Project being the loudest of the three and very obnoxious and unbearable without a baffle. Now, these are just my opinions. You might completely disagree with me, and that's totally okay. And if you disagree with me, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the matter. Let me know if you'd like to use it with the baffle or without the baffle. But as of this moment, I'm riding the bike at 60 miles an hour in 6th gear. It is almost just as loud as the stock exhaust would be, but I would say about 20-30% louder. But whenever I want to give this thing the full beans, that's when this thing wakes up. Like right about there, it woke it up. And when I'm riding 50-60 miles an hour in 6th gear, it's pretty quiet. It's not that loud, and it's not obnoxious, and it's something that I can ride for long distances, and it's not going to make my ears bleed, and I like that a lot. And that's ultimately the kind of exhaust that I'm looking for. Now, if I don't want to wring its neck every single time, but once in a while I do want to wring its neck, and then it wakes it up, that's the exhaust that I like. It's almost like an exhaust that has a flap that you push the button and it turns on. Like a lot of cars have the little exhaust button, and that's kind of like similar to what this exhaust is for me. Out of the two exhausts, I think the Spark exhaust is the one that is pretty quiet whenever you're down low in the RPM ranges and you're high in the gears. I think it's the only exhaust that's like that. And then when you finally wake it up in 3rd, 4th gear, even less than that 2nd gear, high RPM ranges, that's when this thing wakes right up. Like right there. 2nd gear, 30 miles an hour, and I'm doing about 4,000, 4,500 RPM right now, and it's got little nice pops and crackles that the other two exhausts didn't produce that much. The Leo Vence one was pretty quiet, not a lot of pops and crackles. The SC Project made more pops and crackles than the Leo Vence, but it was only during higher RPMs, not so much during lower RPMs. But this seems to make the pops and crackles throughout the entire rev range, I think. As far as power differences are concerned, based off of what we saw in the dyno run day, hopefully if you watched that video, because if you did, this part would make more sense. But as far as the power is concerned, it's very marginal. Like, I do feel a bit of a difference, but it's not by a whole lot. So the decision I make on which exhaust I keep in the end is obviously not going to be about the power differences, because it's very marginal. So it's more about which one what do I think looks better and what do I think sounds better. And I think the sound is probably more important than the look portion. But all in all, I think this exhaust sounds freaking amazing, man. It's got the right amount of bass, and it's got the most perfect tone that, in my opinion, replicates the Moto 2 engines so perfectly. Obviously, those motorcycles are all straight piped, so they're going to be incredibly loud. And for day-to-day use, I don't like it that loud, and I don't think I'll ever like it. But for me, this bike, now for the road, it has the right amount of volume, and I think it's the most tolerable amount of volume that I would like at this point. I don't think any more than this would be good for me. Alright, so let's see if I can find some place that I did the flyby for the SC Project. Let's see if I can find that place again.
3 hours later.
Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that. But now I'm going to ride around a little bit and let you hear just the pure sound of the bike as I ride around. I'll be back with you guys in a minute. Enjoy. That was a whole lot of fun. So now I think it's time for us to do a little montage and see what this baby looks like out in the open flesh. Let's go. Alright, this looks like a good spot. Let's look at this exhaust. Look how beautiful it is. Well, I enjoyed making this video and I hope you enjoyed watching it. I hope you find it to be very helpful in deciding which exhaust you want to choose. And to be honest with you, I don't know which exhaust that I'm going to choose in the end. In the next video, I'm going to be talking about all three exhausts, summarizing everything about them, and I'm going to make my decision on which exhaust that I'm going to choose in the end. So make sure to stick around for that one. And that's going to be the finale of this series, which is going to come to an end, and then we start with the next series of making this bike lighter weight, because these foot pegs are coming off, this tail tidy's coming off, putting a lighter battery pack in it. Got a couple things planned for this bike, so stick around for that. There's more coming up, but for the time being, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for more. I will see you guys on the next episode. Ciao for now.